In this lesson, you will learn to round numbers to the nearest 10 and 100. So what is a number line? A number line is a line, like so, that has numbers on it. And I could start here at 0, and I could go to, let's say, here would be 1, and here would be 2. And I was going to plot, let's say the number 1. I would just pinpoint, find number 1, and that's where 1 is at. If I would plot the number 2, I would put a dot there. Now let's take a look to see what happens when I change these. And I can change these to increments of different numbers. For example, I can say here is going to be, this starts at 0, this would be 5. Then I have, say here would be 10. And the next one would be 15. And here I would have 20. And I can say, can you find the number 3? And the 3 would, even though you don't see a mark here for it, it has to be between 0 and 5. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just going to estimate it's going to be about there. So that would be the number 3. If I said plot the number 7, I know that 7 comes after 5, but it's before 10. So it would be anywhere here. And one last one, if I said the number 16, I know 16 comes after 15, but it's before 20, so I would plot it there. Now let's take a look. If we are, and that was by counting by 5s. This one here I'm going to be doing increments of 10. I can get a straight line here. And I'm going to start with 0, and I'm going to say, okay, here's 10, here's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And I want to plot the number 23. So I know that 23 comes after 20, but it's before 30. So it's going to be somewhere in between here. So that would be 23. Let's say I wanted to plot the number, let me change colors, plot the number 56. I would come to the number line, and I know 56 is between 50 and 60, so I would estimate it to be around there. Okay, so we're going to be using number lines to help us round numbers, but we have to know how to use it, where to plot them to find out what two numbers they're between. So 23 plotted here, and it's between the numbers 20 and 30. So I'm going to look at what is it closest to? 23, is it closer to this 10, which is 20, or is it closer to this 10, which is 30? With 56, I plotted it here on the number line. So I'm going to focus on 50 and 60 as the closest 10, and I'm going to see what is it closer to. The number 63 is going to be between 60 and 70. So which would be the closest 10? These base 10 blocks represent the number 63, and we want to round to the nearest 10. So 63 is between the tens of 60 and 70. So let's see, let's try and get to 60. So from 63, I need to remove 3 of the ones, and I'm at 60. Let's compare that to rounding to see how many we need to add to get to 70. So we have 63, and if I add 7 ones, now I'm at 70. So you can visually see that the closest 10 to 63 is 60. Here I have the number 67, and I want to round to the nearest 10. The number 67 would be between these two 10s here. So we're going to see if we can find out if 67 is closer to 60 or to 70. So let's see. If I take these ones away, I'm at 60. So I had to remove 7 ones. To get to 70 from 67, 68, 69, 70, I had to add 3 ones. So there were less steps to get to 70 than there was to get to 60. So our nearest 10 would be 70. This is another number line, and it also shows increasing by tens, because here we have 1 10, 2 10s, 3 10s, 4 10s, 5 10s, 6 10s, 7 10s, 8 10s, 9 10s. So it increases by 1 10 on this number line here. And we can also use this to plot a number. So if I said the number 447, be somewhere around there, and the two tens we would look at would be 440 and 450. And another example would be 424 would be about there, and so we would focus on either rounding down to 420 or 430. When we looked at the number line, 424 was between the tens 420 and 430. So let's see what it is closer to when we round to the nearest 10. So here I have 424. Now let's start by rounding down to 420. That would mean I would just remove 4 of the ones, and now I am at 420. Now let's put back the 4 ones, and we're going to round out to 430. So if I have 4 there, and then I add 6 more, now I have a 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And in order to get to the next 10, which is 403 tens, which is 430, I had to add 6 more. Remember, the first time I only had to take away the 4 ones. This time I had to add 6 ones. So the 4 ones, I had to do less, I had to remove less than I had to add. So if we round 424 to the nearest 10, we would be rounding down to 420. This number line here will help us when we're rounding to the nearest 100, because as you can see, it increases, these numbers increase by 100. 600 plus 100 is 700, 700 plus 100 is 800, so this is increasing by hundreds. And if we were asked to round 650 to the nearest 100, we would plot it there and round to either 600 or 700. Okay, so let's take a look at using base 10 blocks to round 650 to the nearest 100. And like we saw before in the number line, our two choices would either be 600 or 700 as the closest 100. So I'm going to add on to get to 700. So 650, 660, 670, 680, 690. Now we're at 700. So I had to add these 5 tens. Let's keep that in our head. Now I'm going to go back to 650. I'm going to go to 600. So I'm going to remove all of these because I only want to have the 600, so that's 5. So I have to subtract 5. So the first time we had to add 5 to get to 700. The second time we have to subtract the 5. So they're both the same whether we round down or round up. In this case, when it's the same, we're going to round up. So we are going to have a visual of adding 5 more tens. When you have 5 tens and 5 tens, that makes 100. So I can switch these out. And so yet we have another 100 to make 700. 650 is 700 when rounded to the nearest 100. If we were asked to round, let's say 810 to the nearest 100, we would be focusing on either 800 or 900. The base 10 blocks here show 800 and 110, which is 810, and I want to round to the nearest 100. 110 is between, is 800 and 900. So let's say I want to get to 800. I simply take 1 10 away, and now I'm at 800. That was only one move with the tens. But now from getting from 810 to 900, I'm going to have to add on more tens. So I have 1, that's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. So I had to add 9 more tens to the board. So when I look at what move was the least amount that I needed to add or subtract, it was when I went back to 810 and just subtracted 110. 810 when rounded to the nearest 100 is 800.